Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're taking a look at a pretty crazy legend run in the Great League Remix Cup. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community and fellow content creator Schmeedy, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now, Schmeedy started running this team at 2450 ELO, and by the time he was done, he was all the way up to legend and leaderboards at 3066. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. Let's take a look at this pretty interesting ABC style team in the Great League Remix Cup. Hopping into game number 1, leading Stunfisk into Tropius. Now Air Slash is of course going to be resisted here, but Leaf Blade will hit for super effective damage. Tropius is going to try and throw in good timing, and that will allow Stunfisk the ability to strike first with a discharge. It looks like Stunfisk is just going to try and soften up that Tropius before eventually switching out, as Goodra, of course, would be resisting Leaf Blade, but doesn't really have the charge moves to inflict a lot of damage here. So Discharge is going to land, we're going to see a switch into Goodra, and Goodra is going to be answered with a Hex Dust Noir. Dust Noir not building up too Dynamic Punch, just going straight for the Shadow Punch. Shadow Punch is going to land, and that's not really a problem for Goodra. Goodra farms up quite a bit, going to return fire with the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail not a particularly hard-hitting move. Opponent is going to fire off more energy, and we will actually see Goodra shield, and now Goodra can go for an aggressive farm down. So Goodra does exit with some energy. In comes Tropius. Goodra no shielding. Aerial Ace is a pretty poor move. It does not knock out. There's the Typhlosion, but it's met with Greninja, and that is so bad. Typhlosion no shields, hoping for a bait. It is the Night Slash bait, so at the very least, Typhlosion will be able to fire off a Thunder Punch, but in baiting, the opponent is now going to get a full Water Shuriken down. There is energy stored still on the Goodra. In comes Stunfisk, and we're going to see Greninja fire off its energy. Greninja is going to go for a Night Slash. That's going to be shielded. We do see the Discharge reached, and there is the Thunder Punch available here. So the Discharge is going to be shielded. There's the snipe onto Goodra, but the opponent reads him like a book. The perfect catch onto the Tropius. Stunfisk needs to farm down to win, gets the farm down, and somehow this game is going to end in a win. A roller coaster of a game, but Discharge KOs Greninja to take the Game 1 win. Moving into match number 2, and it's a disastrous lead as this team is ABA weak to ground, and there's a Shadow Whiscash. One Thunder Shock and a safe switch to the Goodra is going to be answered with a Corviknight. Corviknight not going to honestly do particularly well here. It does resist Dragon Breath, but Thunder Punch is going to inflict serious damage. Corviknight is going to return fire here. We're going to see the no shield by Goodra. It is going to be a payback from the Corviknight. Payback does do more damage than a Sky Attack, and Goodra going to let itself get as low as possible and fire off the Thunder Punch. The opponent actually shields, which may be the opening needed to win this game. In comes Stunfisk, and now Stunfisk can go for an incredibly aggressive farm down. This Corviknight has shown that it does have payback, and payback will actually add up here, but all this energy is going to be very valuable. Unfortunately, the Corviknight able to make one final charge attack. It is going to be another payback, and this poor Stunfisk is incredibly low health. In comes the Shadow Whiscash. The Mud Shot goes through. Is that going to be enough to knock out here? No, the Stunfisk is able to hang on, making one final Mud Bomb, and it's all up to 2 shield Shadow Typhlosion. In comes Typhlosion, answered with a Shadow Primeape, and look at the Incinerates go. Incinerates absolutely deleting this Primeape. Primeape gonna go for the Rage Fist. They do not get another move. There's 2 moves loaded on the Typhlosion, and somehow he battled back. ABA weak to ground, led into a Whiscash, and Typhlosion is able to sweep the game. Stunfisk finally sees a good lead in the next match, leading into Toxapex. There's an Umbreon safe switch. Not really a hard check to the Umbreon safe switch, but a catch and a free Incinerate sneak onto Typhlosion is pretty nice. Banking a lot of energy on the Stunfisk for later. Typhlosion will not get knocked out here, but it would get pretty low from the foul play, so we will see a shield. Typhlosion can now throw on good timing, which is 1 Incinerate and the Blast Burn, and let's see what this Umbreon decides to do. They're gonna no shield. Umbreon does make one final charge attack. Do you decide to go down 2 shields here? The answer is yes, giving up both shields. In comes a Greninja, so the opponent is very, very weak to electric on this team. Thunder Punch is shielded. Now we're going to see the switch into Goodra, and I really like this decision because this forces the opponent to go for their bad move, which is Night Slash. Night Slash, obviously, if it gets a boost, is incredible, but compared to Hydro Cannon, it's a lot less efficient of a charge attack. So 2 Night Slashes are just not a problem for Goodra. Goodra, I mean, it's gotten it low enough with Dragon Breath that he can even just go straight for the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail is going to pick up the knockout. In comes the Toxapex, and we do see the Thunder Punch reached by the Goodra. Goodra Thunder Punch is going to connect. Opponent is going to get the full farm down, and now in comes the Stunfisk, and Stunfisk will begin to launch Charge Attack after Charge Attack. Stunfisk did go for the discharge here. Mud Bomb does do more damage, and they have the same energy cost, so there's never a reason to throw discharge here, but it could have just been a calculated BM as well. Opponent tries for a catch that will not happen, and they will resign the match. Stunfisk into Steelix, a very good lead for the Stunfisk. Opponent pivots out, they're going to send in a Primeape, and Primeape is going to immediately fire off the Rage Fist. Very easy no shield here, as this can only be a Rage Fist, so that's not really a move that Stunfisk has to worry about. We are going to see Primeape firing off another Rage Fist that is going to be no-shielded, and now we do see the discharge thrown here. Again, Mud Bomb is a slightly better move to go for overall. It is incrementally more damage due to the discharge nerf that happened at the start of the season. So the discharge is now going to land, and in comes Goodra. Goodra does still get the farm down, so throwing the worst charge attack actually pays off a little bit there, because Goodra got slightly more farm. And now Goodra gets to unleash Aqua Tails onto the Steelix. Aqua Tails will actually add up quite a bit. Even if this is Breaking Swipe, Goodra still going to survive very comfortably. It is the Breaking Swipe. However, it does get the 50-50 chance at a debuff. We're now seeing another Aqua Tail fired off by the Goodra, but this one is now debuffed, so Steelix going to very comfortably survive. There's a simultaneous switch, and it's going to be Shadow Typhlosion into Pangoro in the endgame. Even a Night Slash does merit a shield, and Pangoro gets the 2-stage attack boost, so this could be very, very tricky. These Karate Chops will now be absolutely deleting Typhlosion. Typhlosion is going to be forced to burn the final shield as it looks for the farm down. Another Night Slash, Typhlosion gets that farm down, very low HP remaining, and the opponent is going to resign the match. Stunfisk into Tinkaton is an incredibly good lead for the Stunfisk. And the opponent is staying in, so it appears they are core broken. They're now going to send out a Jellicent, and great charge attack timing here. Overfarming, firing off that discharge, not allowing the opponent to get any free turns. Now we're going to see a catch onto the Goodra. Tell me this is the Surf. And it is. What a beautiful catch, able to preserve a lot of energy on that Stunfisk. Goodra going to be no shielding here as the opponent is going to unleash Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball does do quite a bit of damage. Goodra now going to fire off this Aqua Tail, and now the opponent does have an interesting choice to make. They are going to play for Switch Advantage, but they don't know yet. Switch Advantage will not help them. They get sniped down by Thunder Shocks, and in the back is going to be Claydol. Claydol is a huge problem. Switch Advantage didn't matter in this game because Claydol is good into the remaining Pokemon anyway. So the fact that the opponent played for Switch honestly works out pretty well because at the very least Stunfisk is able to get some nice chip damage into the Claydol and hopefully put it into Incinerate downrange later. There's the switch into Typhlosion. Opponent just committing, getting as much fast move pressure as they possibly can, but Typhlosion now has so much energy. The opponent gonna send in the Tinkaton. Tinkaton will fire off the Bulldoze, but they just don't have an ability to get to 2 Bulldozes here because Typhlosion just gets the double up. They had switched out with 5, so they had no ability to double up. Typhlosion gets to fire off the back-to-back Blast Burns, and somehow this team keeps running into ground types. It's ABA weak to ground types, and he keeps finding ways to get wins. Stunfisk into Stunfisk. Okay, we have the battle of the electric ground types. In this matchup, you're pretty fine staying in here and playing this out, because once you are able to neutralize the opponent's Stunfisk, then hopefully your Typhlosion can do well in the back. Farming up quite a bit of energy. The opponent, oh my goodness, what a catch. Catching the Mud Bomb where it's triple resisted onto Tropius. But Tropius' happiness is short-lived as in comes Typhlosion, and Typhlosion will immediately be met with a charge attack from the Tropius. We will see the shield. This is a brutal swing Tropius. I honestly forgot it learned that move. Tropius gonna get to another charge attack, and this is really tough for the Typhlosion here, because Typhlosion exits with 2 moves, but they're only gonna get to use 1 move here, because the Stunfisk will be able to play to the CMP tie. So the Blast Burn is gonna be shielded up. Oh, it looks like the opponent may have got 1 turn bring in there. That's actually really unfortunate, as they're forced to burn both shields. Oh, that is really tough, because they did leave with that charge attack banked, and now the shield advantage is back to normal. That is really tough luck for the opponent. And now in comes Goodra. In the back is Togetic. and now we will see a switch into the Stunfisk. Togetic still would have had a pretty awkward time going up against Stunfisk, even if they did still have a shield, because Goodra has energy as well. So I think realistically this was probably still going to be a win, but obviously if you're the opponent, it's really frustrating to get that one-turn bring-in and have to use the final shield when you thought that you weren't going to have to. But in this instance, the opponent realizes there's just no way to win this game. We move to the next match. Leading into a Greninja. This matchup is a little bit uncomfortable as Greninja has a pacing advantage getting to this Hydro Cannon before the discharge is reached. There's an O-Shield, there's the Hydro Cannon, massive damage from that Greninja, and Greninja has high incentive to shield in this matchup because they're realizing that honestly they can get a lot of value here. Greninja is going to play to the CMP tie. This is more than 1 HP remaining, but we will see the no-shield. Thankfully, no Night Slash boost. In comes Goodra. The opponent, they stay in. The fact that they don't pivot out is honestly incredible because Greninja would be very uncomfortable for the Typhlosion. We're going to see one final charge attack reached by the Greninja, and the opponent's Greninja, there was just so much value here. In comes a Fortress. We see a switch. Oh no, it's Charge Bug in the back. And once they let the Greninja go, Typhlosion was just going to sweep. We move to the next match, leading into a pretty nice lead as the opponent leads into the Toxapex, and they're going to be safe switching into Dusknoir. Dusknoir going to be chipped with a Mud Bomb. There's the switch and a nice catch onto the Goodra. Goodra, more than happy to absorb this energy. It actually was the harder hitting dynamic punch from the opponent. The opponent now going to be firing off another charge attack, and Goodra more than happy to commit a shield and look for a farm down, as that is going to be a second dynamic punch. So Goodra does exit with quite a bit of energy. The opponent going to send back in the Toxapex. Toxapex can now commit to a pretty aggressive farm down, but it will pay a heavy price to do so. Oh, they actually send in Ninetales now. Oh, buddy, Ninetales. If it was aligned anywhere else on the team, it would have been fine, but now it's aligned into Typhlosion, and Typhlosion just gets to absolutely eat. Psyshock will do big damage, don't get me wrong, but these Incinerates just do so much damage. Typhlosion has to shield to let this Incinerate land. The Incinerate will register, and it will get that full farm down, and Typhlosion has the back-to-back Thunder Punches loaded. We did see the Poison Jab go through, but it's just not enough damage to prevent a second Thunder Punch. So this second Thunder Punch into Toxapex, opponent realizes they just can't win, so they will just let it go. And now we move to, I believe, the final 2 battles from his final set to hit Legend. Leading into Swalot, a bit of an interesting lead, as obviously Stunfisk can hit for super effective damage with Mud Bomb, but Mud Shot and Ice Beam are going to hit for super effective in return. We will see the Stunfisk over farming here, trying to get to the next move, but Swalot is going to strike, and Ice Beam does serious damage. Stunfisk going to go for a Mud Bomb. We're going to see the opponent switching out, catching onto a Charge-a-Bug. So an interesting team from the opponent. Charge-a-Bug really not going to appreciate the fact that Typhlosion shows up, and they don't even get their move. They just get fully farmed down by the Typhlosion. Typhlosion just so incredibly oppressive. In comes the Swalot, and Swalot will be able to pressure with Sludge. We will see the shield from the Typhlosion. Typhlosion just has so much energy available now at 100 energy. Unleashing Thunder Punch on the Swalot. Swalot is gonna no shield in the back. Look at the spice, it's a Mighty Yenna. This is definitely just worse Thievul, but very, very cool to see. Mighty Yenna gonna be hit with the back-to-back Thunder Punches. That almost one-shots by itself. In comes the Goodra, and the opponent is going to resign the match. And now we get to move to the final game in this set, Stunfisk against Toxapex. An amazing lead, we've seen it play out a couple times. Opponent safe switches into an Umbreon, and now, this time we're actually going to see the Stunfisk farming up a ton of energy before sending in that Typhlosion. Typhlosion is going to be hit immediately with back-to-back foul plays. The opponent farming up, throwing on very nice timing. Typhlosion just going to let this go. This foul play will not be enough to knock out. They go for the last resort, but the last resort KOs. It could all be going wrong here in this game number 5. We're going to see Umbreon go for the foul play, and man, that is so unfortunate. But the opponent, they actually switch out the Umbreon. They send in Toxapex, and that's going to allow a ton of Goodra energy to be banked. So a pretty crucial error for the opponent after they made the great call of going for the last resort. We do now see, as our battler has climbed quite a bit, they have learned that Mud Bomb is the way to go in this matchup. The damage isn't a dramatic difference, but it does do slightly more. So Mud Bomb is the way to go in this matchup when both moves are super effective. We're now going to see the switch back into the Umbreon. Umbreon knows it's never going to be threatened by Mud Bomb. Mud Bomb is going to be no shielded. In the back is Greninja, and Greninja is actually going to play to the CMP tie here. So we will see a shield. It is going to be the Night Slash from the Greninja. Unfortunately, no visuals to see if they did get a boost, but this is where the energy on this Goodra is going to be so terrifying. Greninja firing off another Night Slash. We will see the shield from the Stunfisk. Once the final Protect shield has been peeled away from this Greninja, then Goodra can re-hit the field. All this stored energy from earlier will be incredibly clutch. Opponent actually just lets the Greninja go, knowing that the combo play was coming if they shielded. A Mud Bomb is going to grab the shield. There's back-to-back moves loaded on the Goodra, and this game is over. So even though losing an entire Blast Burn and losing the entire Typhlosion, it just didn't matter. The opponent's decision to switch lock that Toxapex proves to be an incredibly costly one. And that is actually going to secure the win. And I believe here he got to claim the 5-0 set, which did climb him up to leaderboard elo. So he does get to catch a Citadel, claim the set, and there is the legend at 3066 elo. So big congratulations to this trainer. All in all, this is an incredibly unique team. I've not seen anyone running a team even remotely similar to this. So the fact that he was able to run this team and have such success with it, big congratulations to him. Realistically, honestly, when team building myself, I would view a team being ABA weak to ground as kind of a non-starter, but it was really interesting to see how he was able to play his way out of it. And I guess the fact that this is a blind 3 format can oftentimes help, because if you end up switching in your one counter and your opponent had a really good matchup, oftentimes they might just play for switch advantage. And if you can get a shield advantage, like in that Whiscash game, then suddenly Whiscash is a lot less threatening if you can get up energy, up shields, and then those matchups suddenly feel less bad. And then, if they had something really strong to your Typhlosion as their lead, then Typhlosion probably has a pretty decent chance of being good into their backline. So it was a really interesting, I think, a really interesting case study in problem solving when you run into a difficult Pokemon with the team. But Schmiedy does make PvP videos, so definitely do go check him out, as he is a pretty entertaining content creator. And yeah, big congratulations, because his 600-point climb over the course of like a week and a half is insane gains. So that is clearly something was going right with this team. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.